Hello, students. Good evening to all of you. Hope all of you are doing well wherever you are joining live, physically. From I think some of you joining from office, wherever you are, students. So exam is also around the corner, and appreciate your participation for today's session. Students, I'm happy to see the participation of you all to the today's session of SL25 3.2 Advanced Risk Management and Corporate Governance, the topic. Students, uh, good to see that you all are now ready for the exam, right? With all the necessary, uh, I would say, studies as well as the kind of discussions. Students, now you would have faced the mock examination paper and you would have had an idea of what sort of a paper you will be faced with. So, first of all, to give you a kind of a overall idea of the paper, overall idea on how for you to prepare for the exam. Students, first point, remember now this paper, better that you think yourself from the point of view of a CFO, a controller, or maybe from a head of finance perspective. And also, it's good to think yourself, put yourself into the framework of a kind of head of finance, CFO, a finance director's role, or sometimes students, my idea is that okay that you put yourself finance cum CEO role. That also, so you put yourself into that kind of a shoes would be ideal for this particular paper answering. So if you can put yourself into that sort of a frame of mind, right? ඒ වගේ frame of mind එකට ආව දාගන්න පුළුවන් නම් if you can put yourself into that sort of a frame of mind, it would be ideal for you to kind of develop your answers. Answer එක develop කරගන්න ඒ වගේ mindset එකට තමන්ව දාගත්තා නම් හොඳයි. That's the kind of idea, the basic idea that I wanted to give you. And on the other side, students, apart from that, I would personally prefer you all to strategize for this paper. Strategy, develop a strategy for this paper as well, because students, you would have gone through the pilot paper, or pilot paper එක දකින්න ඇති, you would have gone through the mock exam paper. So much of reading you got to do. ඔයාලා ළමයි ගොඩක් reading කරන්න වෙලාවල් තියෙනවා. You got to do so much of reading. Read කරන්න, right? That's a kind of a thing that you may have to do. Reading has to be done so much, immense amount of reading. So have a strategy. Strategy would be, because something that I always believe is that students, the student who will be always passing an exam will not be the student who is the, I would say, the most knowledgeable students. The student who will do really well at the exam will be the person who will be managing that particular 3 hours and 3 hours and 15 minutes particular time period. The smartest person who will be managing that time period would be the best person who will be doing that. So you got to strategize, you got to have a particular strategy. On the strategy, you got to have a good strategy to answer for this particular paper. So if I were you, what I'm going to do is that I will have a strategy for reading time as well as for the writing time. I will have a strategy for the reading time as well as for the writing time as well. Reading time එකට වෙනම strategy එකක්, writing time එකට වෙනම. Has anyone of you developed a strategy? What did you thought of, Lamai? Anyone? The chat box is yours, just to break the ice of the paper, right? What do you think, Lamai? In the reading time, what you should do? Anyone? Have you thought of doing something in the reading time? What do you think? What do you think, students? In the reading time, what are you going to do? Anyone? What have you thought of doing at the reading time? Anybody? Yes, Lasita, selecting of questions, try to find answers. Nelka, right. So, will you be able to read the entire paper in the reading time 15 minutes? විනාඩි 15 ළමයි ඔක්කොම පේපර් එක කියවන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි Tamanට. I don't think. Highlight no one. What do you think? If I were you for this particular paper, Mama Oyanan, right? Yes, Pubudu, that's the thing that if I were you, I would do. If I were you, what I'm going to do, Shana, that's also a good strategy, right? What I were you, what I'm going to do is that students, if I am given the opportunity to answer this paper, what I'm going to do, I will go to section B, right? Yes, Felicia. Section B, in the section B, there are 3 questions. Out of that, you got to select 2, no? So question number 2, 3, 4. What I'm going to do, I will try to make that selection there. So I will read question 2 in the section B, question 3 and question 4, the requirements, and I will try to understand what are the 2 questions. Is it 2, 3, 4 that I am going to attempt? Okay, අපි දෙකක් select කරගන්න ඕන. I have to select 2. So I'll be selecting which 2 questions I am going to do. Hope you understand what I'm saying. So out of the 3 questions, I'll be selecting which 2 questions I'm going to do. Because students, in the 3 hours of examination time, අර ලියන්න ගත්තට පස්සේ ළමයි මට ඔය කියවින්න වෙලාවක් නැහැ. මට select choices කරන්න වෙලාවක් නැහැ. I won't have the time. So what I'm going to do in the reading time, the first strategy, in the reading time, I'll be reading the requirements and the basic body of the questions. Section B, question number 2, 3, 4, I'll be selecting which 2 questions I'm going to do. And then students, when the answering starts, the second part, the 3-hour answering starts, I will be starting from either question 1, the 50 marks larger question. මම ඒකෙන් පටන් ගන්නවා ගොඩක් වෙලාවට answering. මොකද අතන දැන් දෙකක් select කරලා ඉවරයි. Answering will be started from section 1, question 1, section A එකේ අර 50 marks question එකෙන් answer එක පටන් ගන්නවා. And then in the balance, say, thereafter, I will be writing down answers for the selected 2 questions. What about that strategy, ළමයි? ඒ strategy එක ගැන ඔයා මොකද හිතන්නේ? Rather than trying to read the entire stuff at the 15 minutes. විනාඩි 15 ඔක්කොම කියවනවට වඩා, how about you thinking about that strategy? I think that will give you an edge. එතන පොඩි edge එකක් ඔයාලට හම්බ වෙයි. What do you think? ඒක නේ හිතලා බලන්න. Now think about it. ඔක්කොම කියවන එක අර දොඩංගොඩ බදාගත්තා වගේ ළමයි කරන්න අමාරු වැඩක්. So one last time, my strategy, if I were you, I will be reading the section B. Out of these 3, මේ තුනෙන් I'll be selecting 2. දෙකක් select කරගන්නවා. So those 2 I will be keeping because that by now I would have read that. And then I'll be starting answering with the larger question. But compulsory 50 marks question එකෙන් උත්තර ලියන්න පටන් ගන්න. ලියලා ළමයි the other part. Remember, in any paper, ඕනම paper එක ළමයි අපිට අමාරු area එකක් එනවා. That's given. Right? In any paper, there will be an area which is difficult for any one of us. Right? Even still I am facing certain exams. So ළමයි අපි ඒ වගේවා අපි සමහරලාට exam එකට ඒක පාඩම් කරලා නැහැ. Right? We all are working in different areas. We are, most of you are working holding responsible positions in organizations. You may not have adequate time to study. That's perfectly fine, lamai. That's perfectly fine. It's professional courses. It's the case. So certain areas you may not have time. ඔයාට වෙලාව නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. පාඩම් කරලා නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Right? Sometimes certain areas will be remote area in the syllabus. Examiner would have tested. Maybe because this is a new syllabus, new paper, අලුත් paper එකක්, අලුත් syllabus එකක්. Sometimes you wouldn't have done it. Right? කරලා නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Class එකේ සමහරලාට touch වෙලා නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Wouldn't have. Right? And certain area students will be somewhat isolated, somewhat alien to you. එහෙම එකක් එන්න පුළුවන් ළමයි. එහෙමනම් what's more important is your time planning. Time planning, mara important. So what I'm going to do, if I were you, when I get the paper, first 50 marks question, ලකුණු 50 question එකට මම මොකද කරන්න ළමයි, I will allocate 1.5 hours only. පැය එකහමාරක් විතරයි මම allocate කරන්නේ. So let's say if the exam starts at answering time starts at early morning 9 a.m. උදේ 9ට පටන් ගන්නවා නම් I'll be writing in the each area say 50 marks කියලා පළවෙනි ප්‍රශ්නේ ගාවින් I put by this time I have to finish කියලා 10:30. I will be putting the 10:30 time at that place and I will be putting stopwatch there. මගේ stopwatch එක alarm එක right alarm එක කියන්නේ ඔක සද්ද ඇහෙන්න දාන්න එපා ළමයි. at least vibrate වෙන්න දාගන්න phone එක බැරි නම් ඔයගේ watch එකේ හරි මොකාරි alarm එක දාගන්න 10:30 වලදී ටක් ගාලා වාට alarm එක දෙන්න. otherwise what will happen, two things will happen. දෙකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. One thing, I'm telling all these things upfront for you because these examination techniques are really important. One thing that can happen ළමයි, if you know something, අපි දන්න area එකක් ආවොත් what we will do, we will overwrite it. Overwrite whatever the examiner's action verb, we will write everything under the sun and moon for those particular questions. That can happen. That's one pitfall, one loophole that we may fall into. So at that time, we will waste our time writing much more than the requirement in the examiner's question. ඒක එකක් ළමයි. අහනවට වඩා සෑහෙන ලියනවා ළමයි. ඒකෙන් we will lose our time. We will waste our time. That's one thing. And the other thing that will come, that another loophole, another pitfall that can happen to us would be, say, if an area that as I told you, where it is a remote area that you have not studied that area, assuming that examiner can be kind of confused by writing anything, you may write whatever you comes into your mind which is relevant, not relevant to the answer. You will just waste your time writing things, right? Just to deceive the examiner. Examiner පොඩ්ඩක් රවට්ටන්න ළමයි තව මොකක් හරි අර පොඩි වැල් වටාරන් ටිකක් ලියනවා. That also you waste your time. So not to happen that, just to bog down your time on a easy area which you already know and write down more than the examiner's requirement, that's one loophole. And writing everything kind of to confuse the examiner, that's also another problem. So ඔය දෙක නොවෙන්න ළමයි, ඔයා say the writing starts at 9, 10:30 කියලා දාගන්න පළවෙනි එක ලියලා ඉවර කරන්න. By that time finish it. 10:30 hard stop. 10:30 එකට ළමයි hard stop එකක් තියන්න. ලියලා ඉවර කරන්න ළමයි. Then you go to the selected two questions in the section B. Section B selected two questions, you go there and write down those two as well. So අරක 10:30 තියුවා නම් as an example, hypothetically. This one you got to finish somewhere around 11:15. The other one by 12 you had to finish. Is it a good strategy? Strategy එක හොඳයි. Timing දාගන්න ළමයි ඒ වෙලාවට ඕනනම් alarm එක තියාගන්න පුළුවන් නම් watch එකේ better to watch එක ගලවලා ඉවරලා ළමයි ඉස්සරහින් තියලා. Those things I did at my exam. So what do you think about that? Good strategy or not? Rather than bogging down on one question and kind of, right? Think about that, right? ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් හිතන්න. ඒ විදිහට කරන්න ළමයි. So that will make sure that you will answer to the 100 marks. And also remember, you got to write to the 100 marks. ලකුණු 100ටම ලියන්න ඕන. If you write to the 100 marks, ලකුණු 100ට ලිව්වොත් ළමයි 50 වදිනවම තමයි. You will get 50. But if you write to 70 වලින් 50 ගන්න එක පොඩ්ඩක් ගේමක්. Hope you understand the situation. So if you miss something, you may sometimes, I have sometimes students, even though I preach these students on these kind of stuff, sometimes comes and tell me, sir, mara වැඩේ sir වෙලාව මදි වුණා. It's not that වෙලාව මදි වුණා. It's not that you ran out of time. Either you written down walpal, either you have kind of bogged down on one question, or you have not managed your time properly. Right? Time එක manage කරගෙන නැහැ. ඔන්න ඔය ප්‍රශ්න ටිකට ළමයි දැන් ඉඳලා from today onwards develop a strategy because you have time. දවස් 5ක් තියෙනවනේ. So you have time. That's a complete enough time you to prepare for the paper. Paper got to prepare it. Then the other issue many people asking from me, so what to do for these open book materials, right? You would have seen the open book materials, no? Open book එකකට මොකද කරන්නේ sir? So you can take auditing standard books, then you can take code of corporate governance, right? ඒ වගේ open book materials are there, no? So open book මොකද කරන්නේ? For some of you, this may be the first open book paper that you may be writing. Open book, yes, it's good. You can take the things which are only highlighted, underlined, sidelined only, no notes written down on open book material. Open book material ළමයි වැල්වටාරන් notes ලියාගෙන යන්න බෑ. Highlighting, underlining ඔය වගේ ටිකක් තමයි පුළුවන්. So remember, if you are doing or if you are using open book, at least first and foremost, be thorough with the open book material contents. Right? Table of contents බලලා යන්න කොහෙද ටක් ගාලා මේක වේ වෙලා බලාගන්නේ. At which point කොහෙද මේක තියෙන්නේ. එතන ගිහිල්ලා right at the exam hall don't try to පොත පෙරලන්න. Okay? Don't try to waste your time by just here and there no referring pages and pages. ඒම වෙලාව නාස්ති කරන්න යන්න එපා. Right? So therefore if you are taking open book materials, that's good. Open book materials ගෙනියන්න පුළුවන් නම් හොඳයි. Right? And at that time, be thorough with the table of contents. Contents ටික බලාගෙන, right? පොඩක් high bookmark පාරක් දාගෙන, right? Bookmark ටිකක් කරගෙන යන්න. ටක් ගාලා බලන්න පුළුවන් විදියට. The way that you can go through. Okay, Code of Corporate Governance, auditing standards, or whatever the books that are permitted. ඒ contents බලාගෙන යන්න පොත් ටික විතරක් උස්සගෙන ගිහිල්ලා එතෙන්දි පොත පෙරලන්න බලන්න එපා ළමයි. එක්සෑම් එක වාට හොඳට පොත පෙරලනවා ඒ වෙලාවට. You get my point? So remember on open book policy as well. What do you think? මොකද හිතන්නේ ළමයි? What you guys are thinking on? Better, right? So be careful on that. As much as possible, avoid referring to open book. නේ පුළුවන් තරම් open book බලන්න නැතුව ඔළුවෙන් ලියන්න බලන්න try කරන්න. හැබැයි if you want to refer to open book material, that's also quite fine, right? ඒකත් අවුලක් නැහැ. That's also only thing I am worried about the time. I'm worried about the time. That's the other thing. And also students, remember, මතක තියාගන්න, right? Your paper always goes with action verbs. So first and foremost, take about half an hour or 1 hour at your home, do some homework on action verbs and what are the exact requirements the examiner is asking by the particular action verb. Say if the examiner says examine, discuss, analyze, evaluate, elaborate, okay, state, summarize, present. If the examiner says certain action verbs, be thorough with what's the requirement he is asking from that action verb. So at a place where you have to summarize, at a place you have to just say list one after the other bullet points. Don't try to just go and write so much of information in the place where you have to just list. List කරන්න ඕන තැන් වල ළමයි discuss කරන්න, evaluate කරන්න යන්න එපා. It's just listing bullet points one after the other. At a place where the examiner wants you to do the examining and discussion, don't go and do the listing there. ඒ වගේ තැනක put a basic heading and then put a paragraph and just discuss the pros and cons and everything and come out with the outcome. Okay. So those kind of strategies has to be done. ඔය strategy ටික කරන්න ඕන. exam එක ගොඩ යන්න I am going to refresh you because of that. ඒ ටික refresh කරේ අන්න ඒක නිසා. Yes, Shalika, you can. ඔයාට පුළුවන්. Right? You can. And the other point, your frame of mind. ඔයාගේ frame of mind එක. As I told you, think yourself as a CFO, think yourself as a finance cum CEO, finance director, kind of head of finance. Think yourself like that. So at that time, you need to have a bird's eye view of the organization which is given the scenario. Bird's eye view. Bird's eye view means, students, that you need to have a holistic 360-degree angle view on the business case. 360 angle view. 360 angle view means, Lamai, 360 angle view means you need to have an idea on what sort of questioning that the examiner will be asking, and you need to identify pros and cons, advantages, disadvantages, bring on areas from code of corporate governance, code of ethics, bring on areas from, let's say, auditing standards, bring on areas from, let's say, regulatory compliance, bring on areas from forensic auditing or places like that, take down areas from corporate governance, bring on areas from all these areas, and make sure it's relevant to the given case. Don't just write down lame answers. Don't try to copy and paste things from the open book material. Open book material වලින් copy paste කරන්න යන්න එපා. Relate it to the given case. Relate that to the given case and write. ඒක ඒ case එකට relate කරලා ලියන්න ඕනේ. So නිකම්ම let's say a situation like this, threats to independence. Threats to independence එකක් හරි, let's say regulatory compliance, Personal Data Protection Act, or maybe what things like that. So when you find those, make it relevant to the given case. Make it relevant to the given case. That's critical and important to you. Hope you understand the strategy, because without a strategy, no point of just going and hammering the paper. It won't work. Okay, so my policy, write down to the entire 100 marks as the time planning. Reading time used for the selection of out of the question number 2, 3, 4, what are the two questions that you are going to write. Write answering from section A, question number 1, the compulsory 50 marks question. But that question you have to finish the answering at 1.5 hours to the writing. Then another 45 minutes you have to allocate for the question numbers, the selected two question numbers. That's how you go to write. Okay, that's what you got to do. Open book materials. Be familiar with the contents of the open book materials. Materials or contents familiar with lamai. So then it's just basically, in my view, for most of the areas, right? Most of the areas that you already have from your corporate level knowledge, from your executive level, business level knowledge. Most of you have so much of information, so much of theoretical knowledge that you have. For most students, you have already worked in working areas, kind of working in finance departments, working in industry. Most of you, from your practical knowledge, you can write down this paper. From your practical knowledge, you can just go there and write down this paper. To that extent, this paper is easy if you practically write down it. Okay. Prasindu, online students also, that's the kind of advices I can provide. But only thing, be thorough with writing down an online paper first, right? Make sure that this is not the first online paper that you are writing. So therefore, be thorough with your maybe typing speed, writing or typing speed, your what do you call workings, how do you are doing it. So better to do at least 1 or 2 mock papers related to this practice sample papers from the kind of if you can from different websites, if it is available, you may do it and you may test it and go. Don't make this is the first mock online paper that you are doing. So have pre-practice paper එකක් හෝ දෙකක්, at least 1 or 2 papers, practice and go. For you also keep the timing and do it. Timing kalla karan lamai. That would be ideal. Okay. Anything else that you want to clear before I jump onto the paper? Anything else you all wanted to clear? Okay, students, give me a moment. Pubudu, KC4 past papers. Uh, Better, but see, uh, this mock exam paper, the pilot paper, if you have done those, I would say that that would give you an idea, right? Take about the idea quite they mock exam paper copy karata pass when we do this, and the pilot paper will give you an idea. Yeah, Amjad, better. Yeah, it can be. It can be. At least 60%, yeah. Similar type again. Can. Okay. Right. Okay. Anything else? Great. Fantastic. Good. Let me take you to the paper. And one other thing, Lavan. One other thing. The confidence. Confidence level of yours. If you are confident that you can do it, Lamai, I think you all can do it. Remember that. If you are confident, if you think that you can do this, ඔයා හිතනවා නම් මම මේක කරනවා කියලා ඕන එක්කෙන්ට මේක කරන්න පුළුවන්. You can easily you can do it. So remember, easily you can do if you think you can do. And also for this mock exam paper, I will give you the suggested solution also right after our discussion. The discussion එකෙන් පස්සේ suggested solutions පවා මම දෙන්නම්. I will share that with you all, right? So right. Right. So Senura Holdings Group PLC, this 50 marks question. Students, always any question start with the requirement of the examiner. See, look at the requirements. Part A, evaluate 5 strategic risks across Senura's portfolio for the next 24 months. Strategic risk across Senura's portfolio for the next 24 months. Link each identified risk explicitly to the group's strategic objectives of growth, margin preservation, capital access, stakeholder trust, where applicable, and with a portfolio level response, risk response, whether to avoid the risk, accept the risk with limits, transfer it, or mitigate. Evaluate 5 strategic risks across Senura's portfolio for the next 24 months, right? And Roman number 2 of question 1, analyze the strategic risks evaluated above, considering their severity, velocity, and inter-risk correlation, providing a clear justification for the ranking. Prioritize the above mentioned risks by their severity, velocity, inter-risk correlation between of with brief justification for a 10 marks. Right. Read that part. Then I will tell you how to develop an answer for this kind of question. Right. Students, when you get a question like that, right? When you are getting a question like that, identify risk. So how do you find it? Strategic risk. How do you find that? So that's a kind of a art that you have to develop, right? So art that you got to develop is that when you get a question like that, hey, I want to identify risk. Risk means anything, any issue that will impact, that will have a bearing of you achieving organization's objectives. Anything, any issue, any say environmental factor that will have a bearing on the organization achieving its objective. Hope you understand that point. Risk means a strategic risk, a business risk, is that something will impact you achieving your objectives. So clearly like this, say if you as an organization, if you have an objective of let's say doubling your revenue, if you have an objective of let's say tripling your asset book, assets triple karan, profit double karan, those are the objectives you have, no lamai. So for you to do that, right, one thing that can happen is that එක කරන්න ළමයි ඔයාලට දෙන්නේ one thing that can go wrong will be severe competition. Severe competition. If competition is there, your profits will not be there. If competition is there, you will not be able to maximize your asset size. Cybersecurity risk, cybersecurity risk, fraud risk. If frauds are there, now during last 2 months, 3 months, you would have heard so much of frauds happening, no? So much of fraud. Now, yesterday, day before yesterday, also the government is talking about $800 million worth of money has been taken out from Sri Lanka by under invoicing. Sorry, by over invoicing. Have you all seen that? ඔගොල්ලෝ ඒක දැක්කද? Have you all seen that? Yes or no? Future CFOs, have you seen it? Dollars. Hey, දැක්කේ නෑ? Guys, have you seen it? Money have been sent as TT, telegraphic transfer, but the relevant goods have not come. So, no social media. You guys are studying. Not to study, but if this comes in your paper, right? These days, busy with studies. Busy with studies, they were Barandon, right? You guys are the CFOs. So look at it. So money has been taken out from the country by pretending that you are importing, making advance payments, no? Yes, the import-export transactions, about $800 million. That's big money. So these are frauds, Ramai. So fraud risk is a strategic risk. So these kind of things. So when the examiner comes up you to a question again, right? This kind of a question will come in your paper. Paper ke because paper, the name of the paper itself is risk management law. Risk ne paper again, risk identification will come. So risk means mama කියනකොට ලියා ගන්න, right? ඔයා පොඩ ලියා ගත්තත් කමක් නැහැ. Right? Risk means any issue that will impact achievement of the organization's objectives. So at that time, maybe ඔයා කියවගෙන යනකොට මම මේ නිකන් ලියා ගන්න, right? මම මේ කියනේවා આવොත් එමය මොකද આવොත් ඇතෙක් ගියොත් වචනයක්, right? So it can be fraud risk. It can be ළමයි, I would say risk of cybersecurity issues. Cybersecurity issues because of that reputation risk can happen. If that continuously build up, it can have a going concern effect on the business. All these are strategic risks. Okay, product quality issues can lead into strategically your company will come down. Or foreign exchange risk. Foreign exchange risk. Now these days you all know how important the foreign exchange risk is. Risk management. Agree or not? Foreign exchange risk. So if you are into the business of importing these days, definitely you may be facing a kind of foreign exchange losses these days. So how do you mitigate that? Anna okay. So etakota maybe my people risk, cybersecurity risk, fraud risk, risk of competition, technology risk, maybe geopolitical risk these days. මේ දවස්වල geopolitical risk. මේ ප්‍රශ්නයෙන් අපිට develop කරන්න පුළුවන් තව geopolitical risk and then foreign exchange risk, inflation. Now, yes, today the kind of government and the central bank and the authorities are saying inflation is above 5%. Inflation above 5% because of fuel prices, because of electricity prices. So if the inflation is going up, what will happen to your margins? Business margins, CFO, you should know, inflation goes up, fuel prices goes up. What will happen to your margins? Margins will come down. Your margins will reduce. So when the margins are reduced, definitely management will be paid their remuneration, their emoluments based on the corporate performance. So if the management is paid remuneration on corporate performance, what can happen? The risk of window dressing can happen there. Overstatements, fraudulent financial reporting, those kind of risks can be there. So link them. Link them. So risk means, when the recording is uploaded, you see that. So may question this question will come. So when that comes in, you remember, link it to the organizational objective. So put that as a kind of a table. So explain the risk and tell which objective it will impact. Say foreign exchange risk. Risk is, say, if you are into importing or import karna, definitely you will find the rupee depreciation will impact to you, because at the time you place the order, the dollar will be 320. But when the shipment arrives and when you have to settle the LC එක settle karanna, DA bill එක gewanna, so at that time the dollar will be about 350. So 30 rupees per dollar. So if you import an item about, say, $10,000, maybe 3 million loss per shipment. Shipment එකට ළමයි 3 million loss එකක්. සමහර වෙලාවට that particular 3 million will be the entire profit that you can earn from that particular shipment. Shipment එකේ සම්පූර්ණ profit එකම exchange loss එකෙන් යනවා. Understood? So onna ඕක examiner to examiner you have to explain. Then another one, foreign, what you call fraud risk. Fraud risk එක දානකොටම fraud risk අනිවාර්යෙන් paper එකේ එන්න පුළුවන් ළමයි. Fraud risk can come. Sri Lanka auditing standard number 240 ඔයගලන්ට මතක නම් in your earlier studies. Fraud triangle එක මතක තියාගන්න. When you are answering this paper, the risk question, fraud triangle. ළමයි, can you remember the 3 corners of the fraud triangle? Can you type that on your chat box? Fraud triangle, can you type that in chat box? Yeah, Rasindu, pressure. What else? Opportunity, yes. Yunus. Yeah, good. Rationalization. So when you read, right? Good job, Tarshi, Rasindu. Good. Rishda. Opportunity, pressure, rationalization, motivation. මතකයිනේ? Motivation or pressure, opportunity, as well as rationalization. So these 3 factors, factors තුනත් එක්ක, motivation or pressure, where, now see, if the inflation goes up, cost is going up, and the margins are coming down, it's a strategic risk. And when the margins coming down, it's very difficult for you to compete. If you are exporting in the export market, let's say with the Bangladeshi products, with Vietnam products, it's very difficult for you to compete. So that will impact, it will put a pressure on the management to commit a fraud. And if your internal controls are weak, so COSO framework, apply COSO framework. COSO framework. So at that time, if your control activities, spam soap, segregation of duties, physical controls, approvals, management controls, if your controls are weak, then students, you will have a definite risk. They are the fraud risk. If the fraud risk happens, fraud risk on top of that, on the other side, what can happen, lamai? Your cash flows will be lost, your assets will be stolen. So these kind of issues will happen. So it will have an impact on you achieving the objectives. Remember that. So remember, risk management question. Risk management question eකට answer කරනකොට identify the risk what is the risk? So I told you several types of risks that are mostly strategic risk. And these risk, students, how it will impact the objective. So always link that. A risk එක link කරන්න ළමයි for the profitability, for the asset quality, for let's say overall direction of the business. Link. Then the other point, examiner will ask from you, එයාගෙන් ආන්න පුළුවන්, rank them, what rank කරන්න කියනවා. Rank them based on its severity, the impact, severity of the impact, as well as the kind of possibility of it happening. Severity and possibility. So always take the strategic risk first. So the risk that will have the highest likelihood. පොඩි heat map එකකට දාලා highest likelihood එක තියෙන risk එක. The risk that will have the highest likelihood. When you are reading, you will feel that internal controls, fraud triangle එකට දැම්මා, you put that into the fraud triangle. Internal controls are weak. Make a controls weak. So since the controls are weak, there can be a problem. මෙතන problem එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Since the controls are weak, this risk can happen. So if that happens, this much amount of profits will be lost. So that ranks the best, the highest risk. ඒක තමයි ලොකුම risk එක. That has the highest risk. කියනවා ටක් ගාලා ඒක දාන්න. Number 1. Number 2, maybe say cybersecurity risk. Cybersecurity risk. Because the entire organization's business model drives through websites, selling on mobile devices. Maybe they are using third-party clouds to store data store කරන්නේ third-party cloud data. So if the data is lost, things are hacked or ransomware goes into the system. Hacked, ransomware, all these issues happen. If those happen, the kind of disaster recovery plan is not there. Disaster recovery plan එකක් නැති නිසා things can go wrong. On a level level. So put that into that. So always think what sort of a severe impact that can happen when you are reading. එතකොට ඔයා කරන්න ඕන ළමයි, when you are reading, just you have your what do you call workings, no? Working එකේ put the risk එක ටක් ගාලා දාන්න. Severity 1 2 3 4 දාන්න. මේක තමයි වැඩිම as per your understanding. The way the model I told you. Put severity, put the possibility of happening. So first one, put it number 1, rank, number 2, and justify thereafter. So your justification matters ළමයි. ඒක අර මේ exam question එකේ තේමයි. ඔයා you rank the risk and put your justification why as per you it's the most highest risk that you will think that the business will face, the second, third. I will tell you an example. If it is pick me, what's the biggest strategic risk for pick me? Pick me ekata wenna puluwan. Say pick me Uber. What would be the biggest strategic risk you think? Pick me and Uber. What do you think? What would be the biggest strategic risk? Just type in your chat box. Amjad, is it competitors? Pick me and Uber, who are having ride-sharing apps, who are having all this. Yeah, definitely. App not working, technology, cybersecurity, fuel price, fantastic moment, right? Nuance, cyber threat, Nelka, cybersecurity, technology disruption. Now imagine, Lamai, you order a cheese kottu. You are waiting for the cheese kottu, and on the same time, app doesn't work. See, yes, Samira, customer data will be stolen, right? Personal Data Protection Act, our credit card number data protection, all these on a oil level. You got it right. You guys are great. Okay, with a justification, which one is the severest? Now take another one. Hospital, what's the then strategic risk park with hospital like private hospital like Navaloka, say Durdens, what sort of risk will be there? Navaloka, Durdens, kind of RCV, what sort of strategic risk will be there for you? Definitely one. Personal data. One. Yes. Reputation. What else? What else? Patient's data security. No. Old stock. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe expired stock. Reputation. Quality of service. Service quality. Fantastic. So, ඕක අරගෙන patient personal data protection. So remember, ඔය cases කීපයක්. Cyber security or මොකුත්ම දන්නේ නැත්තම්, if you don't know anything, take the cyber security, fraud risk, going concern, right? Data protection, කිසිම දෙයක් දන්නේ නැත්තම්. Quality of products, right? Quality, cyber security, data protection, fraud, competition, put those. දාලා justify කරන්න for this question. Understood? Then lamai, next part. How do you say to mitigate this? Or your response? Lamai, when the risk response kiwama, basically risk response only 4 are there. What are those? Yes, Lasita. Regulatory compliance. Fantastic. Right? Responses hatarai. What are they? Certain risk can be lamai. Certain risk can be transferred, right? Samara risk තියෙනවා ළමයි transfer කරන්න පුළුවන්. Yes, Rishda, නියමයි. Right? Certain risk can be transferred. Now assume students, fire. Now you would have seen yes, STARA framework රංගය නියමයි. Right? Now certain risk can be transferred. Transfer කරන්න පුළුවන් risk තියෙනවා. මොනවද? Maybe fire, risk of fire, or maybe risk of individual's life can be right insured. Maybe physical damage, environmental disasters you can transfer through insurance. So mitigating action when you are giving your mitigating action, find it, let's say if it is a physical damage, if it is kind of, let's say, environmental damage, physical damage, whether you can get an insurance එක ගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා. කලිතරම දාන්න. මේ ප්‍රශ්නෙට ළමයි better you go ahead with the table. Right? Go ahead with the table. ඒකට දාන්න ළමයි yes transfer. මේක මම transfer එකක් කරනවා. Certain risk will be there ළමයි. You know it's business as usual, BAU. Right? ඔකත් උනක ඔයාලා ලියාගන්න business as usual, BAU. Business as usual ළමයි. Business as usual වෙනකොට you need to have some amount of acceptance. Acceptance means you accept that risk is there. A risk එක තියෙනවා කියලා accept කරනවා, but still business as usual you run. Business as usual විදිහට run වෙනවා, but you have things like quality control, quality management. So assume like this. Best example, in a garment factory, definitely you know 100 pieces are done, 1 or 2 will be having some sort of defects. So business as usual, ඒක තියෙනවා කියලා ළමයි ඔයා නවත්තන්නේ නැහැ. Production නවත්තන්නේ නැහැ. What do? You put a supervisor. Supervisor will be checking and samples will be put on to quality checking, quality management, acceptance, quality management. You accept the risk, business as usual, quality management. Else ළමයි reduce the risk through internal controls. Controls දාන්න පුළුවන් නේ. Spam soap, segregation of duties, personal controls, approvals. So ඒක කෙලිම COSO framework එකෙන් ගේන්න. So bring that through COSO framework, touch upon COSO framework. COSO framework එක ගැන කියලා tell the examiner about the COSO framework, put it. And then students, the last one, avoid මතකයි නේ. Avoid means just don't do it. If the risk is so high, so much of guardrails, so much of ring fence කරලා guardrails දාලා ඔයාට එක කරන්න බැරි නම් just avoid it. මතකයි නේ. ඕක ළමයි මේ question එක. For this question, let me share you once again. So for this question, I would prefer you put your answer as a chat box. Sorry, you put your answer as a table. Table එකක් විදිහට වට දාගන්න පුළුවන් නම් that would be ideal for you ළමයි. Okay? Okay. Yes. Shall we move to next one? අපි ඊළඟ බලමුද? See, conduct a comprehensive analysis. So in detail, sometimes in the exam වලට මෙච්චරම අමාරු කරන එකක් නෑ. But conduct a comprehensive analysis on Senure's financial risk profile, focusing on ළමයි financial risk කිව්වොත් what are the risks that you will always take? Financial risk එක ඇතුළට එන risk ටික මොනවද? What are the risks that will come in financial risk? Foreign exchange, yes. Interest rate, inflation. What else? Credit risk, Felicia, very good. Credit risk means what? Your debtors default. Debtors default करने का තමයි credit risk एक किया, right? Then liquid risk, you don't have liquid cash. You are unable to convert your assets into quick cash. Liquidity, market, yes. Reinvestment risk. Sometimes your investments, when they are matured, you have to invest at a lower rates. Reinvestment risk. Those kind of risks are there. එක risk තියෙනවා ළමයි. So different risks are there. So for these risks, you got to plan. You got to pre-plan. ඔයා ළමයි pre-plan කරන්න ඕන. So different financial risk කිව්ව ගමන් මෙන්න මේ risk ටික. Right? So මොනවද risk? ඔදරොඩුවට ගන්න financial risk තමයි inflation, interest rate, foreign exchange appreciation or depreciation, credit default risk, liquidity risk, reinvestment risk, right? So these risks, how does that will have an impact on your profitability? So as a finance, because you are the CFO, you are the finance cum CEO. So if you are finance cum CEO, if you are the CFO, you got to identify how these will have an impact on your profitability, right? So see, conduct a comprehensive analysis of Senure's financial risk profile, focusing on foreign exchange risk arising from USD GBP priced export receivables and euro denominated wind turbine EPC contracts. EPC means emergency power contracts. LKR consumer price index, Colombo price consumer price index, CB PPA revenues, power purchasing agreement revenues. Interest rate risk from AWPLR. Lamai, what is AWPLR? Anyone knows? AWPLR can මොකක්ද ළමයි? Average weighted prime lending rate. AWPLR means average weighted prime lending rate. Is that a variable rate or fixed rate? AWPLR එක ළමයි variable rate එකද fixed rate එකද? What do you think? Yes, it's a variable. Hey, Rangika, what's this? AWPLR is a variable rate. Remember that, right? AWPLR is a variable rate, lamai. Average weighted prime lending rate, which is being published by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. So normally, loans which are obtained by corporate borrowers, they borrow based on a benchmark of AWPLR. The risk that here is that if the AWPLR increase, AWPLR එක වැඩි වුණොත් ළමයි මොකද වෙන්නේ? Your finance cost, your borrowing cost will go up. Ultimately, your profits will come down. වගේ profit එක පල්ලෙහාට එනවා. So then all these will impact on your debt service coverage ratio. DSCR means, students, debt service coverage ratio. Debt service coverage ratio means DSCR. Debt service coverage ratio means from your profit before interest and tax, right? PBIT. අපිට වෙලාව මදියන්න මේවා comprehensive එක කියන්න අමාරු වෙයි සමහරවිට මම කියනකොට ඕගොල්ලෝ ලියා ගන්න, right? When I'm telling this, you just write down in your notebooks. DSCR means debt service cover ratio, profit before interest and tax divided by annual interest and capital repayments of loans. So this risk එක. එතකොට මම නිකන් පොඩි idea එකක් වඩ දෙනවා. Foreign exchange risk, forex risk, rupee depreciation. Now what is happening is rupee depreciating. Rupee depreciation will be negative for importers because they have to pay a higher rupee value for imports, better for exporters. Rupee appreciation is a risk for, mostly a negative risk for exporters because they will get lesser amount of rupees, better for the importers. Forex risk. So forex risk එක ආවම ළමයි, what are the methods that you can manage that? Forex risk එක manage කරන strategy මොනවද? Next question asks that. Question number C is asking that. Forex risk can be managed through what are the strategies? Can you all come with that? What are the strategies that can manage forex risk? Yes, definitely there are over-the-counter products. Forex risk manage කරන OTC products මොනවද ළමයි? Over-the-counter products. Over the counter. Foreign exchange appreciation, depreciation, that is being managed by OTC products, over the counter. අපිට ගිහලා කතා කරන්න. Nuwan, yes. What are those? Yes. Forward foreign exchange agreements. Forward foreign exchange agreements. Rishda, hedging is a term used for all. ඒ ඔක්කොටම පාවිච්චි කරනවා. Forward foreign exchange agreements, you can go to the bank and with the bank you can agree, hey, I want to make a payment of dollars in 2 months time for my imports. What's the price that you can pay me? Over the counter. OTC එකක් ළමයි ඔයාට යන්න පුළුවන්. Over the counter you can agree. Over the counter contracts, the risk is that students, any party can default it. Then you can go for a swap. What a swap එකට යන්න පුළුවන්, you can hand over rupees, LKR, you can get dollars, and when the transaction is done, you can again hand over the dollars with commission and get your rupees back. Swaps. What a swaps යන්න පුළුවන්. So those are over the counter. What are the exchange traded products? Mostly not in Sri Lanka for foreign exchange. Lanka වැඩි. Foreign exchange risk management. What are the products that are there available, which are exchange traded? Futures. What are futures වලට යන්න පුළුවන්. Right? Futures contract. පුබුදු නියමයි. Fantastic. Then ළමයි, and options as well, Shalika. Very good. So ඕම යනකොට ඕගලන්ට හැම වෙලේම ගන්න පුළුවන් collar එකක්. You can buy a collar. Collar means ළමයි, you have a, I would say, cap also there and also flow also there. Collar එකේ යන්න පුළුවන් උඩරිම තියෙනවා and අවමත් තියෙනවා. Collar එකක් එක්කම යන්න. So you can have that particular option. Right? එතකොට put option යන්න පුළුවන්, call option, you can go for that as well. So remember, that's to manage your foreign exchange risk. You got it? Forex risk manage කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒ විදිහට. Then our interest rate risk. Interest rate risk also you can swap. With the, say, if you have a variable rate risk and variable rate goes up, you can go for an interest rate swap. So you can settle on fixed rate to someone and get variable rate from the other party and settle your bank from that. Swap. Swap එකට යන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයාට variable rate තියෙනවා and you are worried that the variable rate can go up. So what do? You enter into a swap arrangement with a fixed rate person who has a fixed rate loan. So get the fixed rate from him, variable rate from him and pay him, and you pay fixed rate to him. Swap arrangements ඔයාට යන්න පුළුවන්. And forward rate arrangement, you can get a forward rate from them as well. Swap arrangement ඒක යන්න පුළුවන්. Or you can net as well. Or net කරන්න පුළුවන් නේ. You can go for those as well. Then ළමයි liquid risk. Liquid risk වලට ඔයාට යන්න පුළුවන් ළමයි sale and lease back, right? Sale and lease back එක යන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේ risk වලට risk manage කරන්න පුළුවන්. Then if you have a credit risk, default risk, so you can go for insurance, default risk කරන insurance යන්න පුළුවන්, or you can go for other techniques as well. So ඔන්න ඔය techniques ටික පොඩ්ඩක් බලා ගන්න ළමයි. You just go through those techniques and have an idea on that as well. That would help you out in developing an answer for that particular question. Okay. financial risk management question which is coming will help you, right, Jayan? So what is the meaning of key exposure drivers? Key exposure drivers means key factors that will drive some of the risks. Key factors that will drive the risk. So example, I will tell you. Now, as an example, say foreign exchange. These days, the foreign exchange movements can be driven by geopolitical risk. That's a key risk driver, geopolitical risk. You will have a kind of a if you will have a kind of a going concern risk. The key risk driver would be your debt to equity structure, your gearing. So if you're in your gearing position, if you have more debt in your gearing position, if you have more debt, gearing wala debt vadinal lamai, what will happen? That would result in a going concern issue. So key risk driver means the fact that drive the risk. Say another one. Another example, a risk like say liquid risk. Key driver for liquid risk may be sometimes credit default by your customers. So that's the key risk driver. Key risk driver. So be thoughtful on key risk drivers as well. Key risk drivers ganat lamai oya thoughtful when. Be careful. Be thoughtful of that. So remember this question. Make question like Abama, put risk on one side, identify what are the objectives that will be impacted, and rationalize that and rank those based on the severity and the kind of possibility of happening that, and then what are your mitigating actions and then mostly you will get a financial risk management question. So foreign exchange risk, inflation, interest, all those risks out of the hedging techniques such as forward booking, forward rate agreements, swapping. From those factors, put what are the factors that can help you out to mitigate those vertically, right? The collar, the put option, call option, or maybe forward rate agreement. Write down that. Okay. Right. Then the next, I will come to this. මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ආන්න පුළුවන් ළමයි. Roles and responsibilities of board, risk committee, audit committee, the mandate of the CRO, chief risk officer, and kind of risk triggers, right? So, lamai audit committee. What does the audit committee does from governance angle? Governance angle එක ළමයි audit committee මොනවද සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කරන්නේ? What do audit committee normally does? Audit committee is the kind of board subcommittee which is primarily focused on the discipline within the organization. Audit committee will have certain areas with regard to risk. They are the ones who will be, who are, say, evaluating whether the organization has a proper proactive risk management practice. The CRO, right? All these oversight functions audit committee will be having. Oversight on internal controls, risk management, internal audit, all these functions, and evaluation of external audit independence, audit committee does that. So audit committee role and audit committee composition. Audit committee will be fully composed of non-executive and independent non-executive directors. Remember that. Audit committee role එක හැම වෙලේම කියන්න ළමයි. And the 3 lines of defense strategy in risk. Risk එකේ 3 lines of defense strategy. Right? Yes, Rasindu, you got to do. Mama keep a ranking high, low, medium based on your justification. You have to put it. That's quite good. That's what I told you. Right? Lamai, very important that audit committee always should take the responsibility for the kind of discipline within the company Remember, when risk management, there is 3 lines of defense. You would have heard about 3 lines of defense. What's the first line of defense, Lamai? In terms of risk. Risk the first line management, the operations, right? Management එක තමයි ළමයි first line එක. They are the ones who will be facing the risk upfront brunt. First line of defense is the executives, the management. Say, if a fraud happened, it will be faced directly by the warehouse. Second line of defense කවුද ළමයි? Fraud risk management සම්බන්ධ වෙන්නේ. Second line එක කවුද? Yes, it's the risk staff, the risk management department. Third line of defense, who are they? The internal audit department. So remember that. 3 lines of defense strategy. 3 lines of defense, which is the first line, the management. Second line, the risk management department. Third line, internal audit. Their roles and responsibilities also you have to remember. So first line of defense are the people who are in operations. They got to do their operation, the management, first line. ඔක්කොම risk face කරන කට්ටිය, say fraud risk, cyber security risk, all these face කරන්නේ first line එක. They face it and they have to always operate within the guidelines, within the framework. ඒකට වැඩ කරන්න ඕන ළමයි framework එක අනුව. They have to work according to the framework. Framework will be developed by the second line, the risk management department. Framework එක හදන්නේ second line of defense එක, that is the risk management department. So ඒගොල්ල වැඩ කරාද කියලා, whether they have worked according to the framework කියලා බලන්නේ internal audit එක. Annually review එක දාලා internal audit will be evaluating whether the second line has worked according to the guidelines. ඔහොමයි risk management එක වැඩ කරන්නේ. Operate වෙන්නේ. So first line has to work according to the policies prepared by the risk department. Second line is the risk department. They have to prepare the policies. Third line, the internal audit will evaluate whether the first line has worked according to the second line's policies. Internal audit එක කරන්නේ review function එක. Did you understood that? ඒක තේරුණාද ළමයි? ඕක ආන්න පුළුවන් exam එකේදී. Did you got it? Yes or no එකක් දෙන්න බලන්න. First line, second line, third line පොඩ්ඩක් ලියා ගන්න. තමන්ට මතක නැත්තම්. Okay? So again I'm repeating. First line of defense කියන්නේ risk සම්බන්ධව, the operational staff, the management, front line එක. Example, warehouse storekeeper, cashier, sales staff, they are the ones who are facing the risk upfront. Risk එක face කරන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ. Right? They are the ones who are facing the risk. So ඒගොල්ලෝ risk එක face කරනකොට they have to work according to the guidelines, policies. Policy පනින්න බෑ ළමයි. Policy වලට එළිය පැන්නොත් ළමයි ඒක fraud එකක්. or negligence. So policy යාලට policy අනුව වැඩ කරන්න controls ටික develop කරන්නේ, the controls are developed by the second line. Second line of defense. Second line of defense කියන්නේ ළමයි, who are they? The risk management department of the organization. They have to prepare the guidelines and controls. ඒගොල්ලෝ controls develop කරන්න ඕන. And the third line කියන්නේ internal audit department. They got to evaluate whether first line has worked as per the guidelines of the risk management department second line. Annually ඇවිල්ලා internal audit කියලා කියන්නේ ඒක. Internal audit කරනවා කියන්නේ ඒක. First line එක second line එකට අනුව වැඩ කරා. That's it. 3 lines of defense strategy in terms of risk management. Got it, no? Right. Fantastic. ඔය කතාව ඔළුවේ තියාගන්න ළමයි. කතාව එන්න පුළුවන්. හරි ඔය similar ඒවා එන්න පුළුවන්. එක එක්කෙනාගේ roles and responsibilities ඔය ටික මට හිතෙනවා නිකන් පොඩක් ටෙස්ට් වෙන්න තියෙන chance එකක් තියෙනවා. Right? Right. Then I will take you through to section B of the paper. Paper ke section B. Students, in the meantime, risk, governance, right? ඔය සම්බන්ධව තමනාර ප්‍රශ්න තියනද? Do you have any questions before I move on to the section B? If you have any questions. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, right, after you study also, right, Monari Prashna Tibuno, you can anytime, right, you can ask those questions, right? So let me see Tarshio for the first question, A and 2 for 10 marks. Can we keep this in mind? First, we have to identify the risk, link the risk to objectives, particular case study, severe ranking, yes. Yeah, fantastic. Advanced auditing, Felicia, advanced auditing කිව්වම maybe risk part will be tested. Risk part එක test කරන්න පුළුවන්. Then corporate governance වලින් ඔය audit committee මොනවද ඒගොල්ලෝ කරන්නේ. Then internal controls, COSO framework. You have to remember COSO framework and go. COSO framework නා අමතක කරන්න එපා ළමයි. COSO framework මතක තියාගෙන යන්න. COSO framework has to be there in your mind. Then risk management framework, right? The risk response, TARA, TARA, right? Transfer, acceptance, reduce and avoid. ඒක මතක තියාගන්න. And then risk part එක තමයි, right? Risk identification. Then හදාගන්න එක තමයි ඊටු ටික. Okay. ඔය වගේ වැඩක් කරගන්න. Rasindu better, right? 17 elements of COSO කෙසේ වෙතත් 5 main elements ටිකවත් මතක තියාගෙන යන්න. Better to remember the 5 main elements, 17 sub elements තිබුණොත් හොඳයි. නැත්නම් ඉතින් at least the 5 main elements, right? Control environment. What is control environment? මේම COSO එකක් ඉවර කරලා දාමු. What is the control environment means in COSO framework? Control environment means, students, the top management attitude, the policies of the organization, commitment to competence, you remember that, right? Integrity, having a code of conduct, honesty, integrity, that's the control environment. Then you have a tone at the top. Yes, how does the top management set the tone? Control environment. එතකොට ළමයි you have to see whether negligence is there. Management is so much critical and particular about controls. You have to evaluate that. Then lamai, second part, information and communication. You have to see whether there are proper MIS is there, EIS is there, SAP, Oracle, the kind of ERP system is properly running, board is having timely meetings, information and communication. Then the risk assessment, Ramai, whether they have a proactive risk identification, analysis and evaluation, and finally risk response. ඔය තුන තියෙනවා. Then finally comes in, students, ඔය අමතරව අවසාන වශයෙන් වාට එනවා ළමයි. ඉතින් පස්සේ what will come is control activities, which is the spam zone. Segregation of duties, physical controls, approvals, management controls, supervision, organization controls, and personal controls. And finally, monitoring and evaluation through internal audit. So, ඕක link කරන්න ළමයි 3 lines of defense, chapter clause. Okay, right? එනකොට ළමයි cyber security පැත්ත, ඔය පැත්ත, ඊට පස්සේ regulatory compliance. When it comes to regulatory compliance, there are certain few acts or few areas that you have to have in your mind. මම ඒකත් මෙහෙම කියන්න. Regulatory compliance කිව්වොත් ළමයි anti money laundering, AML critical. Okay. Anti money laundering හොඳටම critical. මෙන්න මේ වගේ anti money laundering triggers. මොනවද ළමයි anti money laundering triggers වලට හිතන්න පුළුවන්. මට දෙන්න බලන්න පොඩි indications වගේ red flags කීපයක් දෙන්න බලන්න. Can I have few anti money laundering red flags? Can I have few money laundering red flags? CDD, customer due diligence is not a money laundering red flag. Huh? Undervaluing Heshan, very good. Undial, very good. Fully payments made on cash. Maybe if you do data analytics, ළමයි ඔයා data analytics පාරක් දැම්මම all of a sudden transaction jump. Abnormal transactions ළමයි. Right? Abnormal transactions. Payments, large payments made in cash. Loku payments made in cash. And sometimes payments made to tax havens. Yes, abnormal luxury life. Fantastic, Akash. That means sometimes people, their income doesn't reflect on the person's living style. Abnormal luxury lifestyle. Fantastic. Their lifestyle doesn't match with the income they generate. Fictitious transactions. Or maybe towards the financial year end, they try to do so much of transactions, journal entries being done, right? Politically exposed persons. Yeah. Multiple small time transactions are done. Very good. ඔන්න ඔය වගේවට ready වෙලා ඉන්න ළමයි, right? To pick them. To pick them. So anti-money laundering red flags. So AML is one thing. KYC. Know your customer, know your party. KYC and the UBO. Ultimate beneficiary owner. So in any company, any thing, you need to find, yes, in registrar of companies, ROC. ROC එක ළමයි ඔයාට ගන්න පුළුවන්. In forms you will have form 1 එකේ who are the directors එහෙම කතන්දර තියෙනවා. හැබැයි ළමයි actually who is the owner? ඇත්තටම කවුද owner කියලා ultimate beneficiary owner you may have to check. UBO. ROC එකේ පෙන්නන එක්කෙනාට අමතරව තව කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවද? money laundering වල ඒක බලන්න වෙනවා ළමයි. washing machine කියන්නේ නේ කළු සල්ලි සුදු කරන සීන් වල කොම්පැනියේ අයිතිකාරයෝ විදියට ROC forms වල කවුරු හරි ඉන්නවා. හැබැයි ඇත්ත එක්කෙනා කවුද? UBO, ultimate beneficiary, beneficial owner. Who is the ultimate beneficial owner? You need to identify, you need to pick that, you need to see who is. මේ කවුද කියලා ඔයා බලන්න ඕන. Remember that. AML is one. එකක් AML. The second one you got to have an idea is anti-money laundering, an idea that prevention of terrorism financing. Right? Prevention of terrorism financing and prevention of corruption. Corruption and bribery. Corruption and bribery is right now very important, students, because good old days we were so much worried about the corruption that happened at the government sector. But since now the corruption is going into private sector as well. So at that time, tender procedure, or maybe cyber security issues, corruption and bribery at the private sector will also be scrutinized, will be challenged, put behind the bars. Right? So for that also, 2023 වල pass වෙච්ච 2023 ළමයි pass වෙච්ච act එකක්. ඒකෙන් තමයි parliamentarians ලගේ ගෙවල් දොරවල් මොනවද ඒවට කියන්නේ අපි කියන්නේ their assets should be declared. ඒකයි ළමයි ඔය එකපාරටම ගෙවල් පෙන්නන්නේ අර මේ වෙලා, right? Assets has to be declared now. So ඒක නිසා anti corruption act in 2023, it's an area where you have to focus. මේ මම කියනවා ලියා ගන්න. ඊට අමතරව ළමයි cyber security and data security, personal data protection act. I think it came in 2022 නේ ළමයි. PDPA ආවේ මොන අවුරුද්දද? Personal data protection act. Can anyone remember? 2022 or 23? 22 ලසිත. Very good. Right? PDPA එක ළමයි personal data protection act එක 2022 it had came in. So very important that organizations have to have that in mind. Personal data protection act. එතකොට ඉස්සර වගේ you can't store customer information, you can't store information in public domain, public clouds. You can't. If you put them, if those data is breached, it will be a criminal violence, right? And the other one, Financial Transactions Reporting Act, FTRA, Financial Transactions Reporting Act. Under that, we the chartered accountants, we the finance CFOs, voluntary disclosures we have to provide with regard to money laundering related acts. Money laundering සම්බන්ධව අපි voluntary disclosures කරන්න ඕනේ. We got to do voluntary disclosures. So ඔය පැති පොඩ්ඩක් ඔළුව තියාගන්න. මම ඒ ටික ඔයාලට කිව්වේ regulatory compliance is an area in your syllabus. ඔගේ syllabus එකේ regulatory compliance එකේ area එක මේ පහක් හයක් තියෙනවා. anti money laundering, bribery and corruption, then ළමයි terrorism financing prevention, then KYC and UBO, then I would say Financial Transactions Reporting Act, Personal Data Protection Act, Cyber Security, or areas ticker, regulatory compliance. Then ඔයට පස්සෙන් ගියාම ඔය යාපැත්තට ගියාම අර පරණ what do you call it, NOCLA provision, non-compliance to laws and regulations, CDDS, customer due diligence, Anuja, very good, very important. ඒකම තමයි අර KYC එක මම කිව්වේ UBO. So remember everyone, ඔය areas ටික critical බලාගෙන යන්න පොඩ්ඩක් කොහොමද ඒ ටික චෙක් වෙන්නේ ටෙස්ට් වෙන්නේ කියලා right classes වල tuts වල ඊට පස්සේ ඕනනම් AI tool එක ගැව්වනම් ළමයි ඔය ටික ඔක්කොම මේ සමරයිස් කරලා ඔයාලා පටපටස් ගන්න right ඒ ටික චුට්ටක් බලන්න මම කිව්වට thank me later okay right sorry ළමයි the internal audit topic assess the measures required to achieve and sustain organizational independence of the internal audit function. Develop key controls that should be embedded with a gift and hospitality policy with regard to transparency, consistency, and all. Discuss the key criteria HCL should adopt for director remuneration and board composition. අපි මේකට ගමු. ප්‍රශ්න තුන කියවන්න බලන්න ABC ළමයි. Read ABC once again. Read it ළමයි. Right ළමයි. Now, this is also an area that you have to be kind of thorough with. How to create organizational independence for internal auditors. Now, my internal auditors' organizational independence can be created through several ways. One thing, එක දෙයක් තමයි ළමයි organizational independence of internal auditors can be created through the way of number one, you make them report to the board audit committee. The chief internal auditor or chief audit executive, CAE. කවුද ළමයි? Chief audit executive or CAE, he should report to, right, directly to whom? Directly to the board audit committee. Board audit committee directly report करवाना. And then students for administrative matters make him report to that kind of executive management. And also when you recruit people for internal audit, internal audit recruit karaddi, if you recruit from the business line, because internal audit is third line of defense. So when you recruit someone for the internal audit, always from the business line, keep a cooling off period at the say 2-3 years, until such time don't put that person into the same area that he have worked for auditing. Keep a kind of a cooling off period. Cooling off period තියලා එයාව දාන්න. Put that. That's extremely important. ඒක මාර important ළමයි. Cooling off period එකෙන් පස්සේ දාන එක. Remember that. ඒ වගේ ඒවා කරන්න ළමයි. Internal auditors independence can be established through that because otherwise he will have a self-review threat. So ideally dual reporting, have them reporting directly to the board audit committee, have a cooling off period when they are recruited from the executive management to avoid self-review threat. Self-review threat එක avoid කරගන්න එක කරන්න. So basically a kind of a very popular question would be how to have organizational independence of internal audit department. Okay. Then the other one is this gift and hospitality policy. So if you want to have a gift and hospitality policy, always remember, with code of ethics we have learned, students, if you accept a gift or hospitality, what sort of a threat to independence can happen to you? Gift එකක් හෝ hospitality එකක් ගත්තොත් ළමයි මොන විදියේ threat එකක්ද ඔයාලට තියෙන්නේ? What sort of a threat will be there? Can I have your response? If you accept a gift or hospitality in the case of you work as a CFO or you work somewhere. Amjad, intimidation, what else? Definitely familiarity, right? Familiarity, self-interest, definitely financial interest එකක් එනවා. And they may use it for influence you, intimidation can happen. So financial interest එක self interest එක තමයි ගොඩක්ම එන්නේ ළමයි mostly. ඒක නිසා the organization needs to have a gift and hospitality policy. Ideally high valued gifts should not be accepted. If you accept very minor gifts such as a tea, a lunch, not from 5-star, a basic lunch, or maybe sometimes corporate, the client or someone's corporate branded item, that's you should have a disclosure policy. Has to be disclosed. ඒක disclose කරන්නත් ඕන ළමයි. ඔය gift and hospitality policy එක develop කරන්න disclosure policy, non-acceptance policy has to be there. Very important. And also disciplinary actions should also be there for people who are accepting things which are higher in value. වැඩි value එකේ තියෙන දේවල් accept කරොත් ඒකට disciplinary action process also has to be there. There has to be a disciplinary action process also. The third question lamai examiner asked, එයා අපෙන් ආන්න පුළුවන් ඊළඟ තුන්වෙනි එක තමයි, right? Right? Director remuneration policy. lamai remuneration committee. Director remuneration. In listed public companies, remuneration of directors should not be, executive directors should not determine their own remuneration. Executive directors lamai ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ own remuneration determine කරන්න බෑ. They can't determine their own remuneration. Executive directors can't determine their own remuneration. It has to be determined by remuneration committee dominated by non-executive directors. No executive directors as well. And in the remuneration, basic remuneration is only a part. Major part has to be performance linked. Performance linked when known. And on the other side, students, part of the remuneration should be in cash. Other part should be in shares. Right? And remuneration policy has to be there. Remuneration policy එකක් තියෙන්නත් ඕන. Cash වලින් ටිකයි ඉතුරු ටික shares වලින් දෙන්නත් ඕන. Current remuneration and future remuneration as well. දැන් part එකක් ගෙවලා ඉතුරු ටික future දෙන්න ඕන තමයි. And no director should be in charge of determining their own remuneration. කිසිම director කෙනෙක් තමාගේ remuneration එක determine කරන්න බෑ. Has to happen. So these kind of situations will enable you to determine your remuneration policy, right? And the total remuneration paid to the directors ලට ගෙවපු මුළු remuneration එක, total remuneration should be disclosed in the annual report as well. Did you got it? තේරුණාද? Understood? Yes or no එකක් දෙන්න බලන්න. Right? ඔය වගේ එකක් එන්න පුළුවන්, right? can happen, can come at your exam. Then the next question. Lama, evaluate the suitability of the rolling budget approach currently used by NFL in the context of proposed acquisition of MFL and recommend more appropriate budgeting methodology. Examiner can ask rolling budget, appropriateness of the rolling budget, incremental budget, zero-based budget, budgeting approach checking. Discuss the data governance and cybersecurity risk identified in MFL during due diligence. Evaluate the effectiveness of internal control system and evaluate that through COSO internal control framework. You have to evaluate, right? Students, budgeting. Now, this you would have learned this from good old days, from your earlier days. Okay, ඉස්සර කාලේ පරණ කාලේ double AT chartered kind of executive level, business level ඔය කාලේ ඉඳන් ඔයා ඉගෙනගෙන ඇති මේක. ළමයි, students, I would say a kind of budgeting. Budgeting, students, you can have incremental budgeting. Incremental budgeting means, students, you will have a year as a base, say 2025 as the base. Every year you will have a 10%, 15% or kind of a standard increase. Based on that, you have a budget. 1 year will be taken as the base year. එක අවුරුද්දක් ඔයා base year එක විතර ගන්නවා. Based on that base year, you will have incremental numbers. Incremental budgeting normally, students, very, I would say, procedural and will not reflect the current market or current status quo of the organization. At a time when an organization will go for a kind of expansion, acquisitions, divestments, or investments, mergers, incremental budgeting where you have 1 year as a base and then 10% growth. අර අපි Excel එකේ කරන්නේ එක අවුරුද්දක් base එක දැම්ම ළමයි 10% 1 plus 10% දාලා කෙලින්ම සෙල් එක ඇදලා දාන්න. ඒම ළමයි incremental budgeting, I would say, will not reflect the current actual status of the business. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔයාලට යන්න පුළුවන් ළමයි zero based budgeting. එතකොට what do you do? If you year on year the business will have different plans. Every year ළමයි business එකට plan එකක් තියෙනවා. දැන් මම මේ කියනකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝ ලියා ගන්න අපි. මොකද since we are with a kind of a very short period of time, limitation that we can tell, incremental budgeting කියන මම කියපු එක, right, where you have a base, you have a standard incremental rate 10% or 15%, you just drag and you get it. That will be not reflecting the current market environment or current status quo of the situation. So therefore, incremental budgeting will not be a much of a reflective one. On the other side, ළමයි, ඊට අමතරව zero based budgeting means you have every year will be the base year. හැම අවුරුද්දෙම 2025 base එක කරලා based on, say, the organization's plans, like let's say acquisition, you want to go. You want to go for a new merger. Acquisition එකට යනවා, merger එකට යනවා. Based on them ළමයි you do budgeting. ඒ numbers ටික ගන්නවා. එතකොට ඒක නිකන් basically 10% දාලා ඇද්දා වගේ නෙමෙයි. So every year based on the actual scenarios you are taking actions to make use of the items. That's what you do. That's zero based budgeting. Then the rolling budgets mean, students, every year you roll out. අලුතෙන් numbers එකතු කරලා you roll out budgets. ඔය budgeting approach 3-4 පොඩ්ඩක් බලාගෙන තියාගන්න තමයි incremental budgeting, rolling budgeting, then zero based budgets චුට්ටක් බලලා තියන්න, right? That would be ideal. පොඩි පරණ knowledge එක AT වගේ තිබිච්ච ඒවා පොඩ්ඩක් හොඳට ඔළුවේ තියාගන්න. then ළමයි අර cyber security වල data governance, data පැත්ත, because Personal Data Protection Act PDPA comes in. Now, practical scenario is this, no, lamai. If you are people who are working in audit firm or people who are working in commercial sector, if someone requests information from you what's the most preferred method that you are transferring those information? කවුරු හරි ඔයාගෙන් information එකක් ඉල්ලුවොත් preferredම විදිය මොකක්ද ඔයා යවන්න? That information. Felicia, is that true? Amjad, email? How many of you send from WhatsApp? Hashan, email? Akashi, WhatsApp? Now see students. Now email. Now if you can remember in that kind of 2.5 million, can you remember the hackers case? Now email has been hacked. කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ what we heard. The account number එක තියෙන in my office WhatsApp considered as valid communication. Hashan, then at that time you need to have controls on WhatsApp, right? ඒ වෙලාවට ඔයාලට WhatsApp එකට controls තියෙන්න ඕන. Maybe you should have activated disappearing messages. Hashan, have you activated disappearing messages as a valid communication? No. If your phone is lost, what will happen? Phone එක lost වුණොත් කොහොමද? If your WhatsApp is hacked, right? Password breached, what can happen? Critical. ඒකයි, right? Then මේ හිතන්නකො ළමයි. Now, data governance and data protection is very critical. When you are sending emails, from the point of sender to receiver, there is a process, no? Point of sender to receiver. Sender ගෙන් receiver ගාවට යනකල් ළමයි there is a path. මැදදී ඕකට hack කරනවා ළමයි. In the middle, someone will hack it. So, to avoid that, you need to have encryption, decryption. Encrypt karna, decrypt karna lamai. You convert that into an unreadable manner and then again you will decrypt it and you will read it. So those kind of techniques, technology has to be there. And the data governance policy has to be there. Data classification has to be there. Low sensitive, medium, moderate sensitive, high sensitive data. And also, when I'm telling, low sensitive, moderately or medium sensitive and high sensitive කියලා. So you need to have that sort of data classification. ඒ classification එකත් ඔයා ගාව තියෙන්න ඕන. And then data classify කරාට අමතරව ළමයි පොඩි අයට for junior staff external email has to be prevented. How many of your organizations have prevented external emails for junior staff? Yes එකක් දාන්න බලන්න ළමයි මට ටිකක් කරනවාද කියලා බලන්න data governance. Rashidu, Amjad, Felicia, junior staff, you restrict, no? And portable devices cannot be plugged and play. Portable devices plug and play. Some organizations, lamai laptop එක ඉස්සරහා screenshot ගහන්න බෑ. How many of you have it? Screenshot will be blackout. Laptop po, phone එකේ, Tarshi, you have it, no? Screenshots are Rasid, you don't have, right? Screenshot ළමයි අහලා හිතන්නකෝ දැන් මම මේක ඉස්සරහා ඉඳගෙන, right? මෙම phone එක අරන් ළමයි මම if I am going to let's say screenshot එකක් ගන්න ගියොත් it will be blacked out. ඒක black out වෙනවා. Right? Screenshot will be blacked out. නැත්තම් maybe portable devices ගන්න බෑ. Those are good practices, good controls of effective data governance. Amjad, from laptop can export data into a pen drive prohibited. Yes. What you call removable devices වලට data යවන්න බෑ. So they are data governance. Then this has to be a kind of a policy. Organization needs to have a policy. එක policy එකක් තියෙන්න ඕන. So data governance policy has to be there. Data has to be classified into low risk, medium risk and high risk. Low, medium, high risk කියලා ළමයි classify වෙන්න ඕන. External emails has to be prohibited for certain type of employees. Mobile peripherals cannot be plugged and play. Mobile devices ළමයි plug play කරන්න බෑ. Those kind of controls has to be there. And if there are breaches, violations, pick කරන්න. To pick them, you need to have logs, audit trails. Logs should be there in the system itself. Then kind of PC numbers, IP addresses has to be there, right? Yes, password should be students there. Passwords the end password continuously change when known, right? Browsing controls, social media browsing ne. Eva social media browsing aromeva tahanam lamai ogolange. How many of you have blocked in your organization the Dropbox එක then Google Drive block කරලා තියෙන කට්ටිය කොයිද ළමයි? Yes එකක් දාන්න බලන්න. Dropbox and Google Drive external kind of ඒ වගේ storage block කරපු organizations තියෙනවා. Dropbox එක then Google Drive. Amjad, yes. How about others? Now those controls are there, right? Social media block කරපු එක ගොඩක් තැන්වල තියෙනවා ළමයි, but Dropbox එකේම blocked. සමහර තැන්වල Gmail blocked. How many organizations? Gmail එකට යන්න බෑ ළමයි වගේ. Organization browser එකේ. How many of you? The Gmail is blocked. Some places are there, right? So see, so those kind of proper policy should be there. Blocked sites should be there. Password controls are there, right? A Gmail available with pre-approval can't attach any doc to Gmail. It's prohibited. That's what. Printout centralized. Shanaka Annari. Printout take a centralized. Printout disabled. PDF printout ගන්න බෑ ළමයි. Printout disabled. ඔය වගේ actions has to be there for data protection. දැන් මම මේ කියපුවා ළමයි ඔයගේ ඔළුවට දාගන්න. Put it into your mind. Exam එකේදී දීලා දාන්න. Right? So by doing that you can protect your data. Data can be easily, you can prevent your data from taken away. Data අරගෙන යන එක නවත්තන්න පුළුවන් ළමයි, because data protection is a critical case. Now time to time you may receive students very recently and last Sunday I got a call, right? I got a call from a kind of a number. පස්සේ තමයි මම දන්නේ it's not a number from Sri Lanka, right? 94 එක ඉස්සරහට එන විදිහට they have figured out some. They have told a story that I have lost my credit card and some credit card number and someone has tried to made a transfer. The ladies who spoke to me from other side, she was a scammer කෙනෙක් ළමයි. She asked from me whether I have the credit card right now with me. She wanted to get my credit card number from me. මගේ අතින් නම්බර කරන්න ළමයි. ඊට පස්සේ අනිත් පැත්ත හැරුවා නම් CVC නම්බර එක ගන්නවා. CVC නම්බර එක ගත්ත ගමන් she can perform a transaction. Transaction එක perform කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ transaction එක perform කරොත් ළමයි what will happen? I will get a OTP. She will ask from me the OTP as well. මගෙන් OTP එකත් ඊට පස්සේ ආ ගන්න හදනවා ළමයි. So those kind of actions they try to do. Scammers. ඔකට මම වෙන්නේ නැහැ ළමයි, but if it happens to my elderly mom, they will get caught. So data protection means that. So somehow my information has been compromised and that has gone into the hackers or scammers, right? And these scammers are not in Sri Lanka even. So that's very important as an organization where question එක වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Most of the time your question can come, it will be a hospital, it will be a bank, it will be an insurance company, it will be a finance company, microfinance company, it will be a hospital. Company will be like that. So at that time, imagine what sort of a control that you can embrace, what sort of a control that you can implement. What දාන්න පුළුවන් control එක මොකක්ද කියලා කියන්නේ. That's it. Okay. Let's move to the last question. COSO framework we have discussed. See, evaluate 4 steps an external auditor of CDP would take to assess the compliance with Central Bank of Sri Lanka, CBSL, AML KYC regulatory requirements. Anti-money laundering. එකයි මම කිව්වේ anti-money laundering එක මාර important ළමයි. Customer due diligence. So always CDD you need to have to identify source of the transaction. May transaction එක source එක. Step should be identify the source of the transaction. Documents, documentary proofs are very important. So at බැංකුවකට ගියාම ළමයි ඔයාගෙන් අහනවනේ if it is a let's say unusually higher value transaction so සල්ලි කොහෙන්ද ආවේ so ඔයාට මේ සල්ලි කොහෙන්ද ආවේ so AML KYC regulatory requirements is like that so identify the source of the transaction request for documentary evidence ඉල්ල ගන්න ළමයි then file those documents ඒවා documents file කරන්න if you get a kind of a suspicion if it is a suspicious transaction should be escalated to ළමයි suspicious transactions කාටද escalate කරන්න ඕන to whom suspicious transactions should be escalated under customer due diligence suspicious transactions should be escalated to whom Anuja, fantastic. Financial Intelligence Unit of Central Bank. The Central Bank Financial Intelligence Unit, you have to, because chartered accountants, CFOs, you got to tell the suspicious transactions to Financial Intelligence Unit of the Central Bank. That's critical, that's important, that's your role. So under customer due diligence, under KYC requirements, so you need to get familiarized with the transaction. You need to identify what is the source of funds. You need to obtain documents. If you have a suspicious transaction in place, inform that to where? Inform that to the relevant regulatory authorities. Right? ඒ ටික ළමයි relevant regulatory authorities වලට ඔයා කියන්න ඕන. You got to tell that to the relevant regulatory authorities as well. Okay. Now, give me a moment. I will share you the answer to this paper as well. මේ paper එකේ answer එකත් ළමයි මම ඔයාලට දැන් share කරන්න the suggested solution so you can write down. Yeah, give me a moment. Students, the suggested solution I have shared with you. Right. So, students, remember if you have a kind of AML, KYC, or kind of suspicious transaction, always escalate those to Financial Intelligence Unit of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka because it's our duty, right? Chartered accountant, our duty is to do that voluntarily. We have to do that. අපිට ළමයි ඒක voluntarily අපි ඒක කරන්න ඕන. We got to do it voluntarily, right? Moment. Sorry. Right, for the last part of that question, students, always the question will be there, threats to independence, or a good old threats to independence will be asked from you, will be tested from you. And for those threats, examiner will be asking from you what are the safeguards. So self-interest, self-review, familiarity, advocacy. So those threats to independence will be there. And for those threats to independence, what are your safeguards? So safeguards, then rotation, rotation of people, rotation of staff, escalation, communication to those charged with governance, to the audit committees, escalation of those. So those can be there, or else students having a kind of additional review, whatever review or complain that to the audit committee. Those kind of safeguards you got to always come up with. So if you ask from me what are my predictions, මගේ predictions මොනවද කියලා ඇහුවොත් කොළ කැලක් ඔයාලා ලියා ගන්න බයා. I will definitely predict identification of risk and ranking question එකක් එන්න පුළුවන්. Risk identification and ranking. That question can come. And on the other side, students, a question can come with regard to threats and safeguards. That question will come. Then on top of that, students, financial risk management interest rate, inflation, foreign exchange risk, liquidity credit risk, that question also will come. What are the safeguards? Sorry, what are the remedial actions? Hedging techniques, cap collar, forward booking, forward rate, swap, right? Futures, options, put option, call option, or then lamai AML, KYC, customer due diligence, that area, regulatory compliance, data protection, ඒ පැත්ත ආණ්ඩ පුළුවන් හැකියාව තියෙනවා. fraud risk එක ඒකේ නම ඔය ටික මාර important. ඒ ටික ඔළුවේ තියාගන්න කොහමද ඒක එන විදිය, right? Because very important that you remember all these and go. And on the other side, students, internal audit question එක හැම වෙලේම ගොඩාක් වෙලාවට internal audit question can be tested in a way. Internal audit independence කොහමද මේ independence එක හදාගන්න internal audit එකේ. So independence එක හදාගන්න විදිය I told you today. Internal audit independence, how do you have it? And on the other side, students, application of the COSO framework in risk management. COSO framework එක risk management එකට දාගන්න එක, right? COSO framework හොඳට බලාගෙන යන්න. 5 main elements. Look at it, very important. And then risk responses. Risk වලට දාන response 4. How do you apply that? Go through හොඳට බලලා යන්න. Tarshi, I don't think it will go into that detail, right? මේ detail එකට මේකේ අනේකක් නැහැ. Value at risk and duration. DSCR නම් සමහරට එයි. Debt service cover ratio where profit divided by annual loan servicing. A level එකේ එයි. That's the max. I think it will be testing. A level එකට test වෙයි. ඉතින් එහාට අර LGD what do you call A level එකට මේකේ අනේකක් නැහැ, right? So apart from that, fraud risk අර අපි කතා කරා fraud triangle එක ඔළුවේ තියාගෙන යන්න, right? Fraud triangle එක ඔළුවේ තියාගෙනම හැම එකකම යන්න. Motivation and pressure, then rationalization, then opportunity for committing fraud. Remember that. Cybersecurity risk areas, remember how cybersecurity risk can happen. Committed ransomware, right? Eka scamming, පැත්ත මතක තියාගෙන යන්න. Then board audit committee, board related party transactions committee, then risk committee and remuneration committee. ඔය committees වල remuneration committee, audit committee, committees වල කාරණා ඒගොල්ලෝ මොනවද කරන්නේ ඒ පැත්තත් බලන්න. Then threats to independence, right? That will be tested. ඒක test වෙනවා ළමයි. අර risk identification management part එක ඒක හැම වෙලේම align that to organizational objectives. Okay. ඊට පස්සේ අවසාන වශයෙන් ළමයි forensic audit එක. How forensic audit and what's the implication? Forensic audit එකේ implication එක කොහමද වෙන්නේ කියලා ළමයි ඒකත් පොඩ්ඩක් බලාගෙන මම පොඩි note එකක් ඔයාලට දෙන්න බලන්න. Let me give you a note. ඔයගොල්ලෝ අන්තිමට හිටපු හන්දත් නේ we have to what do you call appreciate, you know. Let me give you a small note on that. Do I have it? So just give me a moment. I will give you a small note on forensic audit. Right. Students, have you received it? Not yet, no? No. Let me share it. Hopefully you would have received it now. Okay, so students, forensic audit means when, let's say, a fraud has happened. You got it, no? അവനേ lamai. If a fraud has happened in an organization, how does it be investigated? Because if a fraud has happened, you need to quantify the fraud, identify who are the perpetrators, කවුද හොරකම කරේ, කීයද value එක, what's the loss, whom should be responsible, what are the actions and recommendations. So audit firm will do this. So a fact finding has to happen through a forensic audit. So forensic audit පොඩ බලාගෙන ළමයි මේ දවස්වල හොරකම් වැඩි හන්දා can be tested because as a CFO sometimes we may have to work with forensic auditors. Tutorial එක චුට්ටක් බලාගෙන යන්න හැමෝම. That's the kind of last information. Get it right? Okay. Dinusha, I have shared that to the chat, right? Take a chat එක තියෙනවා. Okay. Let me share it again.
Yes, these showcases I will share. I can share. I have received everything. I will share with the students.
Thanks, thanks, Aruna. Okay.
By emails, I can share by emails. Yes.
All right. Okay, so Aruna will share it with you. So forensic audit lamai is a new area. New area in the sense, given it's, I have a kind of a gut feeling, right? What about gut feeling? Since the so many frauds are there and CFOs are being questioned, right? In certain cases, CFO ගෙන් ආනවා ඔයා මේක දැක්කේ නැද්ද, right? Haven't you seen this? That's how they ask, right? CFO, when you are placing your signature on top of the statement of financial position, accounts උඩ CFO යාගේ signature එක දානකොට this subject itself is risk management and corporate governance, no? So when you put your signature, they ask you, hey, have you not seen it? මේ fraud එක දැක්කේ නැද්ද? Haven't you seen that? So at that time, forensic audit is an area that you can ask an audit firm to identify the reasons, amount of fraud. Because the amount of fraud should be needed. Then only you can take actions against the culprits, the perpetrators in the courts. So for your lawyers to battle at courts, වගේ lawyer ට මේක උසාවියේදී අරගොල්ලත් එක්ක මේ fraudsters එක්ක fight කරන්න, there has to be a report. So that report is the forensic audit report. So forensic audit report එක ළමයි is needed. So forensic audit, there are procedures that you have to do it. So it will quantify the fraud එක value එක හොයා ගන්නවා, fact finding, and that will be given for further disciplinary actions against the perpetrators. මොකද හොරකමක් කරාම ළමයි, there will be people who committed it, there will be people who have supported it. කරපු කට්ටිය ඇති, ඒකට උදව් කරපු කට්ටිය ඇති. ඒ ඔක්කොම අහුවෙන්නේ ළමයි forensic audit එකෙන්. Okay, great. So everybody, anything else? If you have any more to be asked, right? මොනවාරි තව ආන්න තියෙනවනම් just you can drop me a message on LinkedIn or wherever I'm on LinkedIn. ආලා කියව ගන්න, right? Okay, Rasul, thanks. You can contact me through LinkedIn, Rasidu, right? LinkedIn එකේ මම ඉන්නවා. My name is Nilendra Vidhanage. You can contact there. And so thanks a lot, everybody, and appreciate your active participation, right? I think everybody was actively participated on the session. And I think, right, we have developed a strategy for answering, right? අපි නිකම්ම නිකම් උත්තර කතා කරේ නැහැ. We developed a strategy for answering. Reading time, what to do. Answering time, what to do. අපි ඔක්කොම කතා කරලා ළමයි. And also each area we have developed, right? Risk management, corporate governance, ethics, internal audit, COSO framework, regulatory compliance, data governance. For all those areas, students, we have developed enterprise risk management, developed a strategy. අපි පොඩි strategy එකකුත් හදාගත්තා. So thank you very much for participation on behalf of CA Sri Lanka, Aruna, and myself, the team. Thanks a lot, everybody. Do your exam and always don't take any pressure, right? इसमें pressure එකක් ගන්න එපා. Just go and write. Remember, within 1.5 hours, question number 1 has to be finished. 45 minutes thereafter, whatever first question you select from the selection, then the remaining 45 minutes, you have to finish the remaining questions. Always remember about the action verbs, because your exam is an action verbs based exam. Based on the action verbs, write down your answers. So that's it from me. We are signing out. Good night, everybody. Take care and thank you.